Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are making banana bread. This is definitely the best thing you can make with overripe bananas, and today I'm going to show you my recipe step by step. This bread is very moist and it's delicious because we will be adding in chocolate chips, or you can add in any mix-ins of your choice. Let's get started. We are going to begin by adding between 3 to 4 regular sized bananas into our mixing bowl, and we are going to go ahead and mash them until they are all well mashed. Next, I'm going to go ahead and melt 1/3 cups of butter, and when you're doing this, make sure to melt it in the beginning so that it can cool off a little bit before adding it to the rest of the ingredients. In a separate small bowl, I am going to go ahead and crack 1 large egg, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a little whisk before adding it to the rest of the ingredients. Once our egg is beaten or whisked, we are going to go ahead and add it to our mashed bananas. And once it is into our mixing bowl, we are going to go ahead and just give it a little bit of a mix using a spatula. The good thing about this bread is that you don't need any fancy hand mixers or stand mixers. You can do this in one bowl with a spatula or a wooden spoon. Now that a few minutes have passed, I'm going to go ahead and add in my melted and cooled butter, and I'm going to just continue to mix in with my spatula. Once we have that kind of mixed in, we're going to go ahead and add in 3/4 cups of granulated sugar, and we're going to continue to mix using our spatula. The good thing about this recipe is technically it is a 1 bowl recipe. I'm using several different bowls here just for the sake of showing you the measurements, but if you wanted to dump all the ingredients into the bowl and then mix, you could totally do that towards the end. Now it's time to add in our flavoring. I am adding in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and I'm also going to go ahead and add in 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. At this point, I'm also going to go ahead and add in 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and I'm also adding in 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Before mixing any of this, I'm adding in 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. In this case, I am using wheat flour. You can definitely use white unbleached flour, whatever you have on hand. In this case, this is what I had. Once our ingredients are all in this one bowl, we're going to go ahead and continue to mix all of them until they incorporate using the same spatula or the same wooden spoon that you have been using. Like I've mentioned, this recipe is completely easy because if you wanted to, you could just dump everything in one bowl and then just mix with a spatula towards the end rather than having to do it in between, and it would still turn out very nicely. So just continue mixing until you no longer see any dry ingredients, until everything seems wet and into a batter. Once our batter is ready, it is now time to add in the mix-ins. You can add between 1/2 cup to 1 whole cup of mix-ins, being either chocolate chips, raisins, you can add walnuts, you can add pecans, any kind of mix-in that you would want to. In this case, I chose chocolate chips, and what I'm doing is I'm simply tossing them in a 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour just to make sure that they don't sink all the way to the bottom. And if you're doing the same with adding in raisins or walnuts or pecans, you can also do that just to prevent them from floating to the bottom, and so that they can just spread out very uniformly across the batter. So once you dump in your mix-ins, just go ahead and give this one last mix. Make sure to incorporate whatever you're mixing in. In this case, we are doing chocolate chips, and make sure that you are not able to see any of the flour with your batter. At this point, it's also a good idea to start preheating your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And what I also did is I prepared my baking pan by using nonstick spray, and then I added a little bit of all-purpose flour all around, just to make sure that my bread would not stick to the sides of my baking pan. Once your baking pan is prepared and ready, just simply pour all of the batter right into your baking pan. It does seem like a lot. I promise it's not going to overflow. It is going to fill your baking pan a little bit more than halfway through. And I am going to link the baking pan that I'm using and the dimensions. I'm using basically a little loaf pan. You can also bake this in a squared baking dish, in a round baking dish, in muffins. The baking time will change slightly, but you can definitely do it. So once we have this ready, we are going to go ahead and bake this for between 50 to 60 minutes. I usually bake it for 50 minutes, then turn off the oven and leave the bread in there for the rest of the 10 minutes, making it a whole 60 minutes. Just baking with the heat of the oven. I hope that makes sense, but definitely the sweet spot is about 55 minutes. This is all going to be down in the description box and also on my website, so you don't have to remember this, but I'm just letting you know as a side note. After the 60 minutes were up, I did allow my bread to cool for 10 minutes before cutting. This is how it looks straight from the oven. And then here's how I cut the slices. You can definitely cut this however you'd like. I really hope that you try this recipe. It is so delicious. It's my go-to recipe anytime I have overripe bananas. Don't forget to share this recipe with a friend. Leave me your questions and comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe before you go. Hit the like button, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.